All right, welcome to our Facebook Live from the Global Health and Development Symposium in Chicago. My name is Matt Flesch, and I'm Executive Director of Product Communications at Horizon Pharma. And I'm here with Austin Atteberry, who is the co-founder of the Signia Story Foundation. He's also the Executive Director of the Signia Story Foundation. And today we're going to be talking about a partnership that Horizon and the Signia Story Foundation have entered into where we give kids living with rare diseases the opportunity to write their story and then turn that story into a song created by a professional musician. And it's a really incredible project, and Austin and I are really passionate about this and excited to talk about it. I'm going to ask Austin to explain Signia Story in a moment, but I thought first I would just give a little bit of background about Horizon Pharma and who we are to give a little bit of context as to why we've partnered together on this project. So Horizon Pharma is a biopharmaceutical company, and we have a very strong and long-term commitment to helping people who are living with rare diseases. We have 6 medicines for people living with rare diseases, and we also have research going on to identify and develop new medicines for rare diseases. And one of the things that we've learned as part of that process is the importance of story in everything that we do. We learn so much just from working together with the rare disease community, from hearing people's stories, from talking with them, from participating in the community. It really informs everything that we do as a company, how we develop medicines, and also just how we come up with programs and ways to support people living with rare diseases. So on that note, we launched the Rare Is campaign about 1.5 years ago. And what we're doing is we're asking people to share what living with a rare disease means to them by completing the phrase rare is. So we hear things like rare is hope or rare is isolation. And people share their video and they share a photo and they talk about what rare means to them. And just a little bit about rare diseases, for those who don't know about rare diseases, there are 7,000 known rare diseases. 50% of those affect children. They say 1 in 10 people are living with a rare disease, so chances are you know somebody who lives with a rare disease. And they're incredibly isolating. They can be very, very challenging, but I've also been really inspired from meeting people with rare diseases and seeing what they do and what they go through and kind of the resilience that they have despite that adversity. And again, as a pharmaceutical company, we learn so much from listening to and elevating these stories. So with that, I thought, Austin, why don't we just kick it off and just, if you could provide a little background around Signia Story.
Sure.
Who the organization is, how it got started, and exactly what you do.
Yeah. So my name is Austin Atteberry. I'm the executive director and co-founder of the Signia Story Foundation. And what we do is we give kids in children's hospitals and hospice organizations and organizations serving kids in need all over the world the chance to write and illustrate stories about whatever they want. And then we distribute those stories to songwriters who turn them into songs and send them back to the kids. So this all got started about 6.5, 7 years ago. I'm a songwriter. I'm from Chicago. Went to school at Northwestern and then moved down to Nashville, Tennessee, Music City, which it seems like everybody's doing these days, to pursue songwriting. And while I was there, a beautiful girl moved in next door to me, and she happened to work at Vanderbilt Children's Hospital as a child life specialist, and she encouraged me to volunteer at the hospital as a music volunteer. So, full disclosure, to impress the pretty girl that had moved in next door, I said absolutely. But I had to figure out something to do with the kids. So I started by just asking them to tell me a story about whatever they wanted, and we would turn that story into a song, and I would go home and record the song on my computer and then send the MP3 back to the children's hospital for the kids and their families. So long story short, we wanted to bring that opportunity to other songwriters and to other kids, and so we put the whole process online. And by putting the process online, we were able to reach other songwriters and other kids. So today we have about 3,000 songwriters that participate in our program. We work with about 150 organizations serving kids in need all over the world. We've been on the Today Show and People Magazine and different things like that. And the pretty girl that moved in next door to me is now my wife, Sarah, who hopefully is watching right now.
Yeah.
And we have a beautiful little girl whose name is Ellie. So that worked out too.
That is awesome. And that I remember you came into our offices at Horizon about 1 year ago, and you kind of explained everything that you just said to all of us at Horizon. And after you left, we all just kind of were thinking, wow, this is such an incredible organization, what you guys are doing. there's got to be a way that we can support Sing Me a Story and partner with you in some way. And then I know we had a lot of conversations and phone calls together with the team, and we came up with this idea of the Rare Is playlist.
Sure.
So essentially taking your process and giving kids with rare diseases the opportunity to write their story and then have musicians turn it into a song, which is then uploaded onto this Rare Is playlist, rareisplaylist.com. And the songs that are created are incredible. They're so cool to listen to, but I think what I've learned is that really the magic of Sing Me a Story is in the process.
Yeah.
And so maybe talk a little bit about what that process is like for kids who have that opportunity.
Sure. Well, kind of the overarching mission of Sing Me a Story, the 10,000-foot view, I often call it, is that we believe that the greatest gift in the world is the gift of giving. And it's our goal to give the children we serve the opportunity to give the one thing they all have, regardless of circumstance, which is their imaginations, and bring those imaginations to some of the biggest microphones we can find to ultimately remind us all that we have far more in common than we often attribute to ourselves. Because we believe that our world is a world that's destined to be united, and if Sing Me a Story can be one small part of that, we've accomplished what we've set out to do. And so what's been so fun about working with Horizon is that we've been able to really document that whole process. So document the story writing process. So one of our staff members working with a child around a story about anything he or she wants, taking that story and again, those imaginations and that creativity to songwriters who can then work through that story to create a song that then goes back to the child and their family, and to document that whole process and then share that with the world really shows the power in story, and that these kids are heroes among us. And that's really been an amazing opportunity, and one that we feel very, very grateful to be a part of.
Yeah, and one of the things that I've just observed from working with you and your team is just how you really put the kid front and center in the process and make sure that their entire experience is a great experience for them. So maybe just kind of talk about how you always make sure that kid's needs and their story is, sometimes it can be sensitive material if it's about their disease, or sometimes I know it can be very playful about princesses and unicorns and things like that. But kind of how do you coach and work with the kids and make sure that they're totally comfortable and their parents are comfortable?
Yeah, well, it should go without saying that, for us and what we found with most of the folks we work with, that we're doing this for the kids. And so for them not to be the center of what we do, we may as well stop doing what we're doing. So absolutely, going back to, what I mentioned about the greatest gift in the world being the gift of giving, we find that so often children in certain circumstances are on the receiving end of things, and for all the right reasons. Oftentimes that's needed. But one of the things we really pride ourselves on is to kind of turning the table a little bit and saying, you're going to give to us. So we know that the one thing you have, regardless of what the situation is that you might be in, whether it's a hospital or a refugee camp or whatever it may be, we know that you have the power to give us the one thing we know you have, which is your imagination and your creativity, and give that to us so that we can then turn around and create something for everybody that will remind us all that we have far more in common than we often attribute to ourselves. And when we do that, we see that there's an incredible sense of empowerment that comes over that kiddo to say, hey, you have the ability to not only receive, but to give. And so in that process and with that in mind, certainly the child and their family become the focal point, and we kind of go into every circumstance, every situation with that kind of front of mind.
So with the rare disease initiative that we've embarked on together, what has kind of struck you about the rare disease community and kids living with rare diseases and their stories?
Yeah, it's been really neat. So by definition, rare diseases are rare, right? So often these families that we'll work with, let's say they live in Tennessee or Nashville, they may be the only family going through what they're going through in the whole state of Tennessee or in the whole region of the Southeast or whatever it may be. And so what we've been lucky enough to be a part of are a lot of these camps or conferences where a lot of these families that may be affected by a particular disease come together. And when you have a group of people that are facing a really difficult situation, that oftentimes don't have the opportunity to be together, but to be there when they are, to see the cohesion and how unified they are in facing these troubles is, to say it's inspiring is a huge understatement. I remember chatting with a mother of a child who had Tay-Sachs disease, which is another rare disease, and she would talk about this conference that they would go to each year that was held in a different city, where all these families that were facing this particular disease would come together. And in hearing her talk about it, it was like, their release valve. It was what they looked forward to all year long. And it's really a powerful thing. And so I think that's somewhat unique to the rare disease community, just because of, by definition, they don't have those opportunities to connect with other people that are going through what they're going through. And when they do, it's really an incredible thing to witness their tribe and how they really circle the wagons around each other.
Yeah, and it's really great when we can see those stories used to, if the child is okay with it and their parents are okay with it. We've just seen so many great things. There's been a lot of talk just at this conference about social media and how you can use social media to generate education and generate awareness. And some of these stories that you can check out if you go to rareisplaylist.com. You can download a song with a donation to the Signia story and the organization that supports the child's disease. You can also watch videos that outline the whole process and talk about what that kid was dealing with, and with interviews with their parents. And it kind of just outlines the whole process. And what really just strikes me is, I think, especially with rare diseases, when they affect kids, a lot of times you hear from the parent, and they talk about what their child is going through. And there's a lot of, that's great, that's important, but you don't always hear the perspective of the kid who's going through it. And I think that what this does is it opens up our eyes and our ears to hearing directly from kids, and just to hear about their experience. It could be about their rare disease, or it could just be about what they wish they could do and they couldn't do. But we learn a ton from that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so often when we look through our own lens of perspective, we see, especially as adults, right? We see the obvious things, and we assume oftentimes that kids, the kids that are going through this, see those same things, meaning that it's, because of their rare disease, they have dietary restrictions, and that's one of the things. They wish they could eat pizza or whatever it might be. But when you really kind of, like I said, kind of turn the table and give the kids the opportunity to give the one thing they have, which is their perspective and their voice and their imaginations, you find out that they'd actually love to mow the grass sometimes, or they'd actually love to, all these things that you wouldn't necessarily assume. But again, it's really a wonderful and beautiful thing to give kids the opportunity to give the one thing they all have, which is their perspective.
Another element of this is the musicians. So how many musicians did you say are signed up?
We have a little over 3,000.
3,000 musicians, and they take the time to read the child's story and then create a song. Sometimes I know they take days or weeks to create it, other times backstage before a concert, but it's incredible that so many musicians have become a part of this. And what do you think it means for the musicians? Like, what have you heard from them as far as what it's like for them to be able to be part of Signia's story?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it gives the musicians the opportunity to give the one thing they all have, which is the ability to make music. So often musicians and all sorts of folks, athletes or whatnot, are asked to do for others, and it's not always doing what they do best. It's showing up in an event, which is all good stuff, and I'm not trying to take away from that. But what we've found is that when we approach musicians and say, hey guys, here's an opportunity to help kids in need, but here's an opportunity to help kids in need by doing what you do best, which is making music. I mean, they light up. They love and embrace that opportunity. If you really want to build one of the strongest bonds in the world, collaborate with somebody on something. Yeah. And so we're giving these kids and these musicians the opportunity to collaborate on something that's bigger than all of us. That's certainly bigger than themselves. So it's pretty neat.
So how do musicians sign up? Or let me ask two questions.
Sure.
If somebody is watching and they want to know how they can get involved with Signia Story, whether it be a parent of a child with a rare disease or the leader of an advocacy organization, how can they get involved?
Sure. So www.singmeastory.org is our website. You can contact me, Austin, at singmeastory.org. If you're a songwriter and want to get involved, just click on the tab that says Join Us. And it's pretty straightforward. If you're a company like Horizon that works with patient advocacy groups that you'd like to support, please let us know. And yeah, if you're a parent that has a child that you think would love to be a part of Signia Story, please reach out to us. And you can do that through our website. Or again, my email is austin@singmeastory.org. And yeah, we'd love to hear from you.
All right, Austin, thanks so much
Thank
for
you, guys.
participating in this. Really appreciate it. All of us at Horizon, we're just so proud of being able to partner with you and get these stories out. For everybody watching, again, go to the Rare Is playlist. So it's rareisplaylist.com. You can download songs that were inspired by the stories of kids living with rare diseases. And in doing that, you can also make a donation to the organizations that support that child. So that concludes our Facebook Live, and thank you very much for tuning in.
Thank you.